Hey everyone, Melanie here and welcome back to my channel. Right, today I have made a video how to detect actual real red flags in a relationship and how to discern them between imaginary ones. And often a lot of people approach me with this. They've been burnt out from a previous relationship, especially when it's been with someone who was borderline or someone who was very highly pathologically narcissistic. They're really wounded and they just do not want to go back there again. Doesn't even have to be someone who was personality disordered, just someone who was just not good for you, someone who had ulterior motives, someone who messed up, whatever it is. You felt like you got the wrong end of the bargain, you're suffering at the moment, you're like, how do I tell the difference? It seems like a lot of people are having trouble discerning the difference between what's imaginary and what's really happening. That's at the crux of it. So when people tell me, how do I tell the difference between an actual legit red flag and what's just in my head? Only you can tell you that. Only you. And it's good that you get into the habit of practicing this for yourself. No one can give you a magical pill that will just make you have your eyes wide open and, like in the film They Live, where you can wear glasses and actually see people's true intention and be there to kick ass and chew bubblegum. Love that film. We don't have these glasses. We don't have these glasses that can tell us who's being authentic and who's just being a charlatan, who's tricking you, who perhaps is in denial of like how they're being. We have to rely on instincts, on intuition, on reading body language, on trusting our own perceptions. This is the answer I'm giving you. You have to learn to trust your own perceptions. They're the only way you're going to find out what's an actual red flag and what's in your head. However, in order to trust your perceptions, you need to get really good at discerning between what happened in the past and what's actually happening now. If you've been really burnt in a relationship, perhaps your wounds are still quite raw. It's very easy to be quite sensitive and take something to mean it's a bad idea, it's danger, danger, when it wasn't necessarily danger. You're just quite sensitive and maybe misinterpreting it. If you feel like this is happening to you, if you're in a relationship, always check out your assumptions. Don't be afraid to approach the other person and say, look, this happened, I'm feeling this way. It is best to check out your assumptions as soon as you can. Otherwise, you're left with a narrative in your head that you've decided is happening. And the more you give that narrative thought and energy and attention, the more intense the story is going to get in your head. And the more emotional and more riled up it's going to make you, and the more solidified in your thoughts about what's going on. So it's always good to check out your assumptions before it gets that far. Of course, maybe your assumptions are actually right and this partner's just gaslighting you. It can happen. It does happen. And often I tell this to people and they start freaking out thinking, oh, I can never go out with anyone ever again. You have the right to walk away. If you're worried about getting into another relationship with someone who wants to use you, perhaps someone who is highly narcissistic and wants to use you as a supply source, cut off the supply source to them. Learn to be your own supply source and to honor and respect yourself, that when you sense someone who is being this way and perhaps you checked out your assumptions and they say, no, it's not that, and you're still getting these feelings within yourself that something's not right, back off. Don't give them what they want. Give them space and see how it goes. You're within your right to take your time with any sort of relationship, whether it's a new friendship, whether it's at work, a new work colleague, or a new intimate relationship. You're within your right to slow down and take your time, to test out your boundaries and to back off, to not give your supply sources too easily, to learn to say no, not out of a place of aggression. We need to resolve our anger from the past. If we felt like we've given too much of ourselves in the past and out of anger, we can perhaps lash out a bit when it wasn't necessary. We release this anger when we realize we've been self-betraying ourselves, we've been letting ourselves be caged, or we've let ourselves be used, or perhaps we were forced this way. Whatever it is, it's to meet your needs now and respect yourself and honor your boundaries. Put yourself first. This is the beauty of, when you start dating someone, you can take your time. And over time, trust is built. And if you hold back sometimes, and this is what I've said in previous videos, if you hold back from giving your supply sources and that person runs off and you don't hear from them, perhaps they lash out in anger, it's a big sign. They disappear. The people that you don't want around will disappear if you don't want them there. You have the power, you have control, you can choose who you want to be in your life, and to do this from a place of being kind and respectful, but also firm, not out of a place of anger. I have so many people who are very well-being, kind, friendly people who out of anger can lash out and seem so out of character. They're not used to being aggressive, that they're just so ashamed from swinging from passive to aggressive, and it's assertiveness training. Okay, so I've rambled on a little bit here, but to sum it up, if you want to learn how to discern between actual red flags and imaginary ones, you need to be testing your assumptions. You need to be checking what's real and what's your reality, and you need to learn to trust your own perceptions. Come back into your body, learn how it is to be embodied, to how we feel things when we meet someone. Where do we feel it in our body when we're interacting with someone we're not sure about? What's it telling us? What are the first thoughts that pop into my mind? It's all about being more mindful, about becoming the observer, being more aware in the moment of what's going on in our body, at the levels of feeling, at the thoughts. Our perceptions are there to guide us, so we need to actually be paying attention to what's going on. That's all it is, just being more mindful. It's not a big mystery, it's just mindfulness. And you can do it, it just requires practice checking out assumptions, learn to be taking back projections, get into the habit of doing some shadow work, writing down on a piece of paper aspects of yourself, aspects of other people that you've had difficulty with, and thinking, well, is this an aspect of me that maybe I've buried within myself because I'm not happy with that aspect of myself? Doing this kind of work, taking back projections, owning our shadow, this is what we do to be more embodied, more whole, more complete. And when we're in a state of daily committing to checking out our thoughts, to checking out our assumptions, to practice mindfulness, then it becomes so much easier to discern between red flags and what's in our imagination. To get into a habit of checking whether we're triggered into an emotional flashback and we're having a conflict, to actually think, okay, what are these triggers? Why does this keep happening? What do I need to do differently now? What do I need to address that hasn't been addressed yet? Whether that's with yourself, with a friend, with a family member, with a new relationship or a current one. And to reiterate, this comes from practice. You can't read a book that will give you a magical spell that you can recite and you can see everyone's true intentions. It comes from learning to trust your perceptions, and it comes from time as well. And you know what? Sometimes you'll make a mistake. All of us do. It's called being human. On this human experience, we make mistakes. It's how we respond to mistakes that make all the difference. It's not whether we made them or not. Part of identifying red flags is also learning about behaviors of certain personality disorders. If you go onto my website, gettingoveryourx.com, click on start here, and you will see audio that I have in which I talk about BPD, women with BPD, the covert narcissist, and I also have free audio which is more specific about narcissism, about how to spot the covert narcissist in your workplace, in your romantic life, and you get that when you sign up to my website. It's on the same page. You scroll further down and you just type in your email address and boom shakala, you get the free audio. I'm going to leave it here for now. If you've got any questions, you got any comments, please write them all down below. And check out my website if you want to know more about the work that I do, or drop me an email and we'll get in contact. Have a great evening. Take care.